I'm Red Arnold, candidate for State Senate, District 7, Wisconsin. This episode is about the Wisconsin DOT, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation is as corrupt as they come. Mark Belling talks about it all the time, and he's right. There is a Pulitzer Prize waiting to happen for somebody who's willing to dig into it and uncover the funding mechanism for the DOT. $939 million budget shortfall, I believe, was the last estimate, at least the last one I heard is probably 6 months to a year old, but almost $1 billion. Now, when we think about the UW slush fund, that was what, $680 million? That's about 2/3 of that. That's an enormous amount. I mean, think about how big the state budget is. And the Department of Transportation costs, the county budget, I think is 27% of the county budget is transportation. It's a major cost. Why? Similar to healthcare. What's happening at the DOT is literally corruption. But it's not necessarily illegal per se, because the way that the law is written, the way that contracts are and can be drawn up, I equate it to, it's not illegal, all right, at a grocery store to take food out of another person's cart, but you don't do it. So the DOT is essentially doing these things that equate to a racket. What do I mean by that? And this is coming from, well, I can't say who, but let's just say it's not from, a guy standing on the side of the road saying, we'll work for food or I need money for hookers and beer, but at least I'm honest. No, this is from people within the industry. This is from, people, very trustworthy sources. Some of them, I'm surprised they haven't acted upon any of this information, or perhaps there is an investigation, but the people that I talk to that should be doing that don't seem to realize anything, or maybe they're looking the other way. Hopefully not. But regardless, the case is that the DOT really needs a major overhaul. So what's happening in most cases is the equivalent of what anybody who grew up in my generation would equate to the Care Bear stare, forming Voltron, or Popeye with his spinach. Every single episode, the exact same thing happened. You take Popeye, for example, right? He's getting his ass beat by Bluto over something dealing with olive oil, something dealing with, but essentially they have to fight. All right, Bluto's getting the best of Popeye. Popeye eats his spinach, whether he is shoved into a hole and he has to use the pipe to cut a hole in the spinach that just happens to be in his pocket. But either way, the spinach comes out, bing, and then he turns the tide on Bluto. So with the DOT, what happens, for example, right now, up on 13th between Drexel and Rawson, right in between where the movie theater is, the church is, that has been needing repair, and it gets repaired probably once every 3 or 4 years. They're finally putting concrete on it, okay, because it's a heavy trucking area. They put concrete on Drexel, they put concrete on College, they put concrete on Layton, but they didn't put concrete right there on 13th. Now granted, if you're a truck, why would you not take, because 13th is right there in the access to the on-ramp for the freeway. So you wouldn't need to travel between Rawson and Drexel because there's ramps right there. So you can get off either one and go straight down Drexel or straight down Rawson. So they probably figured, oh, we'll just keep that. So I think they're widening it to 4 lanes, and now they've used concrete. Okay, it's taken the entire summer to get that project done. But watch, okay? And you won't really notice this until later, but it'll be the same thing. Next year or the year after, they're going to tear it up again. Now, if it's for a new development, I could see, but those new developments are in the planning stages now. If a development comes in on the other side, where that farm field is, of the movie theater, or down further between, the church and Drexel Avenue, there's a house that was there, there's nothing there. If they develop that, that's in the planning stages now. Oak Creek already knows about this. IKEA, that was 2 years ago. They already know. Why are they not putting in sewer laterals? Why are they not putting in sewer mains? Why are they not putting electrical conduits at least to, however many lines of whatever voltage they need that you're guaranteed going to have on either a business, especially if it's in the zone for industrial and commercial instead of residential or vice versa. They know all this. Yet, in a couple of years, it's going to be dug up and they're going to be doing work on it again. Drexel Avenue right here in South Milwaukee, same thing. What are they doing? They're in different spots up Drexel Avenue. And why this late in the season? And you always notice that they tear it up and it sits there for weeks. Nothing's ever done to it. It's just a fucking hazard that you have to drive around. But yet, then they come back and they fix it up in a couple of days and it's done. Then you come back a few. So essentially what's happening in this Care Bear Stair is, why don't they do all this stuff beforehand? Right there by IKEA. They tore that up 3 times. One of them was to make a left turn lane to go to a dead end on 20th Street. It goes nowhere. Why did they have to tear that up? And why couldn't they have done that when they were putting in IKEA? I'll give you another example. And this one is amazing. And I think the east side of Milwaukee might be the only exception. Think of a McDonald's. Okay? This is predominantly in the Midwest, but Wisconsin, think of a McDonald's. With an eye shot, as long as there's no hills or trees or buildings in the way, within 5 minutes, if you had to walk, is there a Walgreens? Or a CVS? The answer is yes. That's not by accident. So start noticing that. You're going to start noticing, holy cow, he's right. Look at that, McDonald's right there's a Walgreens. It's amazing. It's amazing. Once you know that, now do the same thing with the DOT. Mark down in a calendar, mark down in a book, to say they're tearing up Rawson Avenue and the date, where it is approximately, and if you can find out what they're doing, that would be even better. Maybe go to the city council meeting, go to the city engineer and ask them. But then watch, they'll tear up the exact same stretch of road. Oh, and the big one, the big Care Bear Stair is sewer laterals. Oh, now we have to do sewer laterals. Why couldn't you do that before? And there's another one. Oh, we just didn't have the funding. Okay. So basically what you're doing is you're going to buy a car. Your other car, it kind of works, you can still keep it fixed up, but you want to buy a new car. So you go and buy this car instead of the one you want. You'll buy this car, and then the next year, buy another car, when in reality, if you would have just waited and done it properly, you would have only had to buy this car, and you would have got the car you wanted. Now, either this is happening all over Wisconsin, both the state, the federal, and the local level, and every single person working for the government is just an absolute moron idiot, including the contractors, or the contractors and the government and everybody else is basically in on it. Or the contractors do it and the government officials go, I don't care, I've got protections, I'm just going to follow the paperwork. But if you, what's the 3 key words? We follow the, money, yes, follow the money. You'll almost always find the answer. This is no different, because if I say, well, it's going to cost X to do this, then they come back, that's another trick, and it's going to cost $17 million. Here's the estimate. They get 3/4 of the way done. It's cold like it is now. Oh, well, we better finish this, but we're going to need, it's going to cost $32 million. Well, Bob, here you go. Here's the remainder. Here's your $32 million. This is the 10th out of 10th time you've done this. It's the same racket. But either everyone's in on it, not everyone, most people are in on it at the top level, and everybody else is shuffling the paperwork that they do because there's that one piece of the puzzle. All right, if you as a football team, all right, if the kicker only kicked and that's all he ever did, never watched and never knew anything about the rest of the game, that'd probably be a pretty bad idea for the team. No, the entire team knows what the entire team is doing as a collective. Maybe not every single part. But the point is that everybody, if one person is working, getting permits, or taking money, or purchasing materials, they're not seeing the bigger picture on who's doing everything else. And that is where this comes, this is where it happens. And again, I said that with my other videos. Why am I the only one who knows this? Why am I the only one who sees this? And yet, if I don't get elected, I can guarantee you 3 things. 1, if the Democrats win, you're hands down going to have higher taxes and toll roads. 2, if Walker caves, you're going to have gas taxes and toll roads. 3, the toll roads will be in 3 places. Definitely 1, but if there's 3, here's where they'll be. Wisconsin, here's the southern border right there. Russell Road will be right there. Oh, catch the people going into Illinois. They do it to us. Okay, you know, if that was the extent of it, I might actually be inclined to say, okay, fine, just 1, sure. But it never stops at 1, you know that is government. So the next one will be right in Assembly District 63, where it happened to be the leadership. Oh, and right by Foxconn too, which they'll probably get an exemption for. So they're going to be the majority of traffic there, but they'll get the exemption. So I guess it's technically 4. Then the other one will be the other side leadership, Senate District 13. Because Senate District 13 happens to be right in 94's area. 94 cuts right across that from Delafield almost to Madison. Remarkable. Ooh, now you're going to go both ways. This way and this way. Wow. And in 10 years, you're going to say 1 of 2 things. You're going to see, wow, Red Arnold was right. I'm so glad we voted for him. Or, wow, Red Arnold was right. I wish we would have voted for him. Because again, I can't do anything unless you put me in office. And even then, I'm only 1 voice. But still, I'll spill it. I'll call it like it is. I'm the only one doing this. Either I'm the only one who knows, or I'm the only one not knowing, or I'm the only one who is going to be willing to call it the corruption. Plain and simply, you think Chris Larson's going to do that? No. Hell, he'll love to raise your taxes. This is what he does. That's all he does. He's done nothing. 8 years, nothing. Oh, except right down here. Killed that mining bill, which basically killed Caterpillar. And the funny thing is that Komatsu is going to build a school right here in this district where he basically made them obsolete. I worked for them I actually worked for them for such a short period of time is because it was right when the quarter came and their quarter earnings were really bad. So they basically had to lay a bunch of people off. I actually got laid off the day before I got my first paycheck because I had to wait a month the way they had the pay structure. But yet, Komatsu is going to put a school there in the same district of the guy who basically booted them out. So I called them and said, hey, you know, I'd like to talk to you guys to say, you know, what would you need? They never called me back. So how am I supposed to do anything for anybody if they're not willing to be involved? Because again, I can fix these problems if I get elected. But otherwise, hey, I tried. And again, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. Now, if the party comes back and say, we will back you and fund you 100%, we realize our error, fine, maybe I'll run again. But I'm not going through this. I'm not going through this when leadership can't even call me back. And I'm not the only one. There are so many people that I've known that have run for office that if you're not part of that good old boys club, which is probably the same people who are pulling these over on you, you know, for the DOT, yeah, they're the ones that you check their pocketbooks, yeah, they're the ones getting in on it. But Raquel Rutledge from JS Online, right? Not exactly a conservative bastion, okay? She's the one that ended up reporting that I believe it was $400,000 worth of gravel that was bought under the way this contract's set up in bulk purchases, and again, that's how they get away with it. Nobody looks into it, nobody knows. I can tell you stories, I'm not going to go there. I can tell you stories about how I know that these kind of things happen, this is the way it goes, but I won't. But they bought $400,000 worth of gravel that never actually got delivered. Well, they said, well, you owe us $400,000. They said, well, the way the contract's written. Now, this I'm not sure, but the way I remember reading it, and of course, again, if I'm wrong on this, they said they could only give back $50,000 of it. Well, enough of a stink was raised. They said, fine, here's your $400,000 check. We just don't want any problems. Okay? Because just like the Stephen Avery case, you start looking into stuff, you're going to start finding stuff. If you don't look, you don't find. 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later, lo and behold, the check, that $400,000 that went to the company, that got returned, went right back to the company. And when asked what happened, they say, oh, it must have been a clerical error. Well, I tell you, a bank error in your favor collect $400,000. Why don't I get that? I'd love to pull that community chest card, but I never do. They do. This is your money. And when they can raise gas taxes on you because they can't figure a way out, and Republicans are the ones that want to do this because they can't figure it out, so either they're all in on it or they don't have the ideas. Again, why am I the only one coming up with this? And they say, oh, well, there's different ways of taxation, but none of them are fair, and blah, blah, blah. I wrote, I think it was 7 paragraphs to Belling and Jerry Bott after he went on a rant that how are we going to fix this problem? My God, it's so simple. Every single car that rolls off the line has a CAFE standard. That car is a Mercury Tracer 1998 is different from a Mercury Tracer 1999 in CAFE standards, but we know what those emissions are supposed to read. And every year they're obviously progressively going to get worse as the car gets older, but they compensate for that. They do all those mathematical calculations so you know when you take your car for emissions what that emission is supposed to be. But yet, a Cadillac might have far higher, far better engine performance, but better emissions as well. So even though they're the same age, they might have drastically different emissions, but they're the emissions that will let them pass. So if this is up here for the Cadillac, but this is down here for the Tracer, hey, well, they pass because that's exactly, it's just like me running a 40-yard dash. I'm never going to run a 4-second, but I might run a 7-second. So if they say, well, you're good, Red, you run a 7-second 40. No, okay, great, I go and pass. Whereas a professional athlete runs a 4-second 40, he goes and passes. Same race. If you get what I'm saying with the different results, we already know these results from the cars. That's why they have the CAFE standards. That's why they're so tight. That's why the engineers, that's why the cars are so expensive nowadays, because we have to have all these CAFE standards and features to say that's a different issue. But Tesla, Mark Belling talked about this. Tesla did a software upgrade to their cars that actually improved engine performance that was downloaded via Wi-Fi. What, every car built from now on can't have that? To where it gets satellite uplink, so if you don't give it, then they have to satellite uplink to the car and charge you extra to say, well, here's your odometer, you can't lie on it. Here's your odometer, you know this many miles, it's this kind of car, it weighs this much, you got this kind of a rating, here's your taxes. Not that difficult. How is this so hard to see? Even if it's a 92 Ford Escort, okay, that car, you got to deliver your mileage, right? If you lie on it, you have a certain penalty for it. Where's the problem? Then you pay this much in gas taxes, trucks pay this much, semis pay this much, diggers pay this much. It's all, the calculations are already there. And here's the thing, okay? Cop pulls you over. What's he run? Your license plate. Where do you get that? The DMV, which is a branch of the DOT, it's already in the record. That plate ties to your car, your model, your VIN number. And then what's the next question he asks? Driver's license and registration, please. Who gives driver's license and registration? Oh yeah, the DMV, which is a branch of the DOT. How is this so difficult? Again, not rocket science, not brain surgery, we're not forming Voltron here. Am I the only one that can figure this out? It's so simple, and everything is there. It's already in the spreadsheets in the computer. We just go Microsoft Access, build a whole SAP, whatever you want to do. It's so simple. It's right there. The information's right there. Literally, you set it up, you click import, done. Now all of a sudden you get it in the mail. Yep, here's what you owe for your gas taxes or your taxes. That way, even the fuel efficient cars, you can still tax them at the same amount. Not that difficult. So not only am I going to point out and fix, and I'm perfectly willing to, I've been talking to the Attorney General about this. Take the people and say, look, your gravy train is over. Done. Done. You're done screwing over the taxpayer. And now this is what we're going to do to tax. So now we save all that money from them not being corrupt, and now we actually have a fair taxing system that can keep our taxes low. We don't have to raise anything, and we can fix the problem. But again, not that difficult. How many people do you know that are even saying one of these things, much less both? All right? And here's a story that I don't need to tell, but I'm going to entertain and express the point. These contractors that have been getting all these grades, same thing with Act 10, okay? They've been screwing us over for so long, and it's not going to where it needs to go. It's not going to the roads. Just like Act 10, it wasn't going to teachers, wasn't going to schools, wasn't going to students. It was going to We Act and patting them so they could give to their political people. That was it. That was where the problem is. And all that money was paid for by us. Same thing with the DOT. Okay? When I was in college, when I transferred, those details are irrelevant. Okay? There was a lady that I met that had a boyfriend who was doing one of these, basically like on a boat, like doing like oceanography crap. So this is back in the 90s, so there wasn't satellite phones, there wasn't GPS and all this other fancy stuff. So basically, he was off in the middle of nowhere for a whole year. And similar to the movie Celebrity with Melanie Griffith and Kenneth Branagh, Melanie Griffith plays an actress, he's a journalist, and they're hitting it off, and she says, sorry, I can't because, everything here belongs to my husband. He goes, oh, sorry. She says, but everything from the neck up, I can do whatever I want, which of course she proceeds to in the movie. So that was something that, let's just say it was the greatest year of my life. But I tried to convince her to say, hey, we should be an item. We should be together. He's off doing his thing. He's probably going to be off. That's the kind of life you want to lead, but no, I tried to make it legit. I tried to be a legitimate dating couple item, but that was what she wanted to do, and I, of course, wasn't going to say no. But the point is that I knew when the year was over that gravy train was going to end. Again, it was the best year of my life. Would I have loved it to continue? Oh, you bet. But you know what? I knew that was going to end. Same thing for these contractors, okay? You'll still get your guys paid. You'll still have jobs for your guys. You'll still get plenty of money to build your nice mansions and your pools and your fancy cars. You'll still get that. You're just not going to get as much as easy on our dime. Plain and simple. And if you don't like that and you want to bury me under 3 feet of rebar reinforced concrete, fine. That's what you're going to have to do. And for those of you out there, I'm not going to shoot myself twice in the head with a single action revolver like Vince Foster. Okay? I'll take somebody out if that's the case. That might be me. But I'm never going out alone. So somebody's done something to me if that ever happens. And again, there's a lot of money at stake here. So I can hands down see that might happen. So, but that's what's wrong with the DOT. That's what needs to be fixed. That's how you fix it. And if you want it fixed, vote Red Arnold on November 6th. Because otherwise, you'll get Chris Larson again, which is 8 years of absolutely nothing aside from killing mining bills, killing good-paying, family-sustaining union jobs. So, choice is yours. Always has been, always will be. To quote the guy from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, choose wisely.